Nilambuja Sita Samaropit Vamabhagam Panau Maha Sayakacharu Chapam Namami Ramam Raghuvanshanatham. Adorations to Lord Rama, whose complexion is like a blue lotus, who is very tender and delightful in appearance. Sita is seated on his left side, and he is carrying a powerful bow and arrow in his hands. We are studying in Bala Kanda of Sri Ramcharitmanas by Sri Swami Goswami Tulsi Das, well known as the Ramayana. Bala Kanda, Doha number is 91, and as you proceed with this, the context here is Parvati Devi has succeeded in her austerity, and Lord Shiva has sent 7 great sages, rishis, to relate to Parvati. But it's always in a mystical way. These sages always come to test Parvati and bring out her immense power and glory. Also, you remember the happening of Kamadeva being burnt up by Shiva. All things that are ticklish, joyous. The ticklish term I have used to understand all human experiences are titillations of the nervous system. Beyond nervous system, they don't exist. And Kama is the ruler behind all this. Kama, the passionate desire for procreation, translated as lust. But also I have pointed out that while highlighting lust, the purpose of this scripture is to point out to 6 malas, gross impurities: kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. Kama is lust, krodha is anger, lobha is greed, moha is delusion or infatuation, mada is conceit, pride, and matsarya is jealousy. Again, when we have mentioned these 6, and you find something else, they are all included in that 6. All things that are negative, that degrade human being. And Lord Shiva burnt up Kama into ashes. And then again, this storyline, when Rati began to pray to Lord Shiva for the loss of her husband, Lord Shiva granted a subtle presence of Kama, that Kama has lost his physical form, but he will continue to exist. And again, he links up the whole story to Krishna's incarnation. But it should not confuse you. All the scriptures, they are like relatives. Each scripture opens to other scriptures. They are simply supplementary and complementary studies. Same thing was studied in Ramayana. You will study in Bhagavad Puran. The relationship between them is supplementary and complementary. Presently, coming to the topic, 7 rishis, they have come to say to Parvati Devi that, didn't we tell you that you shouldn't be going after Shiva? Because karma has been destroyed. What's the use now for you to being married to Shiva? Parvati Devi says, हमरे जान सदा शिव जोगी अज अनवद्या काम अभोगी जो मैं शिव से ये अस जानी प्रीति समेत कर्म मन बानी. According to the masses and according to what you are explaining or bringing out to me, that Shiva has burnt up karma, implying that Shiva was subject to karma so far. And Parvati Devi says that according to me, I have never worshipped Shiva coming under the control of karma. But Shiva as one who is stripped of karma, to him karma doesn't exist. So, the very initial process of my marrying Shiva is not based on karma values, but based on the truth of nishkamya, where karma does not play its role. Understand, as I have explained to you, Parvati Devi is Viveka Buddhi, intuitive knowledge. When intuitive knowledge has developed, that soul getting wedded to intuitive knowledge, soul is Shiva potential. And Parvati potential is that Viveka Buddhi, intuitive knowledge. Parvati is intuitive knowledge. So soul being wedded to intuitive knowledge, that's the story of spirituality. Call it in whichever way you like. Every religion will have its own story. Viveka Buddhi is like a ascending process. That the mountain goes into very high level and then it shines with snow. And then when the sun shines, it is a descending movement. The sun is Shiva. Prakriti brings out Viveka Buddhi at its highest climax. 2 types of movement exist in every individual. But while we are describing 2, must realize these 2 are 2 aspects of one absolute. I will not go into too much detail, but we will go into this story. In brief, karma, that's the highlight of all worldly values. You have to have desire to go after objects. But attaining the highest is being free of karma. To what extent karma is absolutely burnt up. That point we have explained to you by describing the vasanas. Vasanas have different stages. In children, the vasanas exist prasupta, sleeping, dormant. Those who have practiced sadhana for some time in ashrams, vasana exists in tanu manasi, in tanu avastha. Prasupta avastha, tanu avastha. Tanu means attenuated. Those who have been living a kind of righteous life, but not very profound, In them it exists vichinnavastha. Vichinna means layered up, putting the dirt under the rug. And those who have no control over themselves, vasana exists udaravastha, absolutely extended. And those who have attained enlightenment, vasana exists in Dagdha Bija state. Vasanas become like roasted seeds. They cannot generate anymore. So it is movement towards that vasana kshaya. That is the interesting point for Viveka Buddhi. Intuitive intellect is wedded to, is going to be wedded to that state where vasana has been already destroyed. तात अनल कर सहज समहा सुभाऊ हिमते ही निकट जाई नहीं काऊ गए समीप सो अवसि न साई असी मन मत महेश की नाई. O great sages, it's a natural quality of fire. Bring soft snow before the fire, and that soft snow will die away. Kama, the impurity of mala, the impurity of desire, that's like a soft snow before the presence of Shiva, who is like fire. In simple terms to understand, attaining God realization. God realization is brought out in an allegorical picture of Shiva marrying Parvati. Your soul marrying intuitive intellect. हिया हर्षे मुनि बचन सुनि देखी प्रीति विश्वास चले भवानी नाई सिर gaye himachal pass. Now all the tests are over. Parvati is perfectly, she has passed the examination. 7 sages I have explained to you, they are 7 steps of wisdom. Sabu prasangu giripati hi sunawa, madan dahan suni ati dukha pawa, bahuri kahe urati kara vardana, suni himavanta bahut sukhamana. These 7 sages now, they go to the Himalayas, the king of the mountains, Himachal. These are all in the storyline. They are all highly figurative personalities. Himalaya mountain, that potential, that chitta potentiality is the father of Parvati Devi. And the wife of Himalaya is known as Mana. Mana refers to the little bird and is symbolic of humility. The Indian word Mana, Ma, the I, ego, Na. When this message was brought to Himalaya and his wife Mana, Madana Dahan Suni Ati Dukha Pava. When they heard the episode of Kama's destruction, that Kamadeva, the deity of lust, has been burnt up, they were extremely affected by grief. But then the 7 sages told them that Shiva has given boon to Rati. And Himavant, this same Himachal mountain is known as Himavant. He became very happy that Parvati has all her future. If you want to understand very profoundly, human life, society, enjoyments, they are experienced by different sentiments. Those sentiments are called rasas. There are 9 rasas. Shringar is the first rasa. That's called amorous sentiment. Veer, vigorous, heroic sentiment. Karuna, compassion. Adbhut, wonder-struck, the type of sentiment that creates wonder in your mind. Humorous sentiment. Terrifying sentiment. Disgusting sentiment. Raudra, extremely demoniac sentiment or extremely terrorizing sentiment. Shant, peace. All these sentiments, they make the world interesting. Try to think of it when you watch even one day of all the newscast. You get a bit of this sentiment, a bit of that sentiment. The ruler of all these sentiments is karma. If you have developed a spiritual aspiration to an advanced level, karma has been burnt up. Now, what will happen to the sentiments? The sentiments will undergo a transfiguration. Now, your first stage, you find your sentiments have nothing to go after. You are led to ruin. But when bhakti enters your heart, that's what Rati prays, offers prayers to Shiva. Rati is the experience of delight. Taste of sentiments is called Rati, how you are delighting through your sentiment. And it is that taste that allows you to enjoy objects we call Vishaya Rati. Contrasted from Vishaya Rati, you develop Bhakti Rati, Ishvara Rati, Shastra Rati. So, destruction of kama does not mean the Rati stops. Rati continues, but now in a higher level. To the beginner or to the immature, destruction of kama is end of their life. There is nothing more to go after. To a spiritual aspirant, you understand the importance of destruction of malas, the joy of having nirmal man, pure mind, and you do everything possible towards it. And when Shiva burns up the very kama, now you have a real festivity. No more falling in love and breaking your legs. But ascending in love, where lover and beloved become one and the same. हृदय विचारी शंभु प्रभुताई सादर मुनिवर लिए बोलाई सुदिन सुनुकतु सुघरी सोचाई वेगी वेद विधि लगन धराई. Now we follow the storyline. These sages they presented their plan that this is the auspicious day. This is the auspicious planetary conjunction. This is the auspicious time. And according to the teachings of the Vedas, everything is opportune, perfectly well fitted for Shiva to get married to Parvati Devi. This is a picture of what happens when people go into marriage celebration. First stage, all the astrological conditions of husband and wife, the bride and bridegroom, they are brought together. Then great pandits come to calculate and bring out this is the perfect time and the perfect place. All this is pointed out. In the plan of sages, they always want the society to follow scriptural touch, not be away from scriptures. But scriptural touch should not be taken literally. Things that were real 50, 60 years ago, they are not real today. The mind must understand the process of evolution and also the purpose behind certain things. Certain restrictions were there in early time which were not needed as time passes by. I'm not going into details of that. But I'm just giving you the purpose behind all the planning and all astrological conditions. And from philosophical point of view, every moment is the best condition for you being united with God. If you were planned to be united with God, God has sent you a text mail. And now you tell God, wait, I'm going to calculate my time when is most auspicious. The fact is, when you bring devotion into your heart, you are the creator of auspiciousness. Think of even practical reality. If you see the weather forecast says it's going to be terrible rain or this or that. But then you have your best of cars that don't care for disturbance in the weather, or best of vehicles. And you sit there and you are perfectly comfortable, so you don't wait for the rains to stop. But you move, making the disagreeable situation agreeable. You have the power to change inauspiciousness into auspiciousness. Because God within you, when once you begin to be guided and inspired by God within, and as you begin to understand the world is God's plan, when that profound insight develops, that's the source of all auspiciousness. But here we are following the story in all detail. Patri saptarishine soidini, kahi pad vinay himachal kinhi. Himalayas, the spirit of Himalaya, gave Lagna Patrika. He created all those data and gave to Saptarshi sages and offered their prayer. In other words, to promote the marriage as quickly as possible. And these Saptarshis, they brought that Lagna Patrika, the details of the data, to Brahma, the creator. And when Brahma began to read it, his heart welled up with so much love, couldn't know how to handle it. Lagan bachi aj sabahi sunai, harshe muni sab sur samudai. Brahmaji read out that in the assembly of sages, saints, gods, and they were all thrilled to hear the news that Shiva is going to be married to Parvati. And whenever that happens, flowers begin to shower from the sky. Heavenly music begins to manifest. And all the 10 directions were filled with auspicious signs. And one of the auspicious signs is kalash, jar containing sacred waters. If not waters, flowers. And so everywhere they could see sacred jars. Lage savaran sakal sur vahana vivid viman hohi saguna mangala subhad karahi apchara gan. Gods secured their vehicles. You must know that gods have their different vehicles. Brahma rides on a swan, Vishnu rides on Garuda bird, Shiva is going to ride on a bull, and Apsaras. The Apsaras are goddesses in the heavenly world. But those goddesses are sentiments, bhavanas, feelings. Shivahi sambhugan karahi singara, jata mukut ahi mauru samara, kundal kankan pahire vyala, tan vibhuti patke hari chala. The attendants of Shiva, they began to adorn Shiva. And that always is brought out with such description that people don't know what to understand about. All the matted locks, they put them all together, Jatao ka mukut. They became a crowning glory of Lord Shiva, all his matted locks. And in putting all the matted locks, instead of using ordinary ropes, they used snakes. Kundalini Shakti, symbolic of the highest stage of Kundalini practice. And even his ears, they were adorned by ornaments that were snakes. Snake curls up into ear, becoming an earring. Snake curls towards his nose, highlighting his nose. Crescent moon shines in his matted locks. Ganges begins to spray itself from the top of his head. All these descriptions are highly allegorical. Tana Vibhuti, his body is besmeared with ashes. All the vasanas are burnt up. Snakes are Kundalini Shakti. And he's covered with tiger skin. Tiger skin has two implications. Tiger relates to the lower self. He has controlled the tiger, the lower self. Another point, the tiger-like strength is the highlight of Shiva. Shashilalat sundar sir Ganga, Nayan tini upavita bhujanga, Garal kantha ur nar sir mala, Asiva vesha shiva dhamaka kripala. In his matted locks, there is the moon. There is Ganges, Ganga Devi. And his face is decked with 3 eyes. 2 eyes representing the horizontal reality of the world. 3rd eye, where the world is transcended by intuitional knowledge. It's the same implication is there in the cross. Snakes serve the purpose of his sacred thread. His throat is blue because he has sucked up all the poison. On his chest, he is decked with mala, garland of skulls. When you hear all that, you see, it gives you some strange understanding of Shiva's heaven. But the point is, consider from a practical point of view. If you want yourself to be healthy and there are 3 stages of your health. One stage, clothes that you wear. How do they fit in with you? How they make you appear? Cloth level of. That cloth level is Brahma's grace. I will be talking about it more later. Brahma's grace. The scriptures talk about 8 Atma Gunas, 8 virtuous qualities that are innate in every soul. If you develop them, you feel very happy. Daya, compassion. Kshama, forgiveness. Asuya, lack of jealousy. Shauch, purity. Anayas, being effortless. Mangal, doing things that has auspicious quality. Amanitva, being humble. Aspriha, being not greedy. These are the basic qualities called Atma Gunas, 8 qualities. If you develop them, you are called Shisht. If you oppose them, you are Dusht. These qualities, they are just in a few steps later in the story, they go to form Brahma's party. When they go to marry, 3 levels of marriage procession. Brahma's party, Vishnu's party, Shiva's party. Brahma's party is what I have described. Vishnu's party is Davi Sampat. Abhayam Sattva Sanshuddhi, Jnana Yoga Vivasthiti, fearlessness, purity of heart, being rooted in Jnana Yoga, Jnana and Yoga. austerity, straightforwardness, non-violence, and ultimately akrodha, absence of anger. Dhamma, control of senses, dhairya, patience, yajna, charitable activity, swadhyaya, study of scriptures. These go to form the procession of Vishnu. And Shiva's paravairagya. And all things that denote, try to bring you a picture of tattva jnana, knowledge of self and of what it does. What I was leading you to understand, just see in a very practical way. You want to live in the world healthy and happy. Three things are needed: your clothes. The second, your skin should not develop a lot of rashes. Third, your X-ray picture must be good. So Shiva level is X-ray picture. All the three levels are perfectly in harmony and in perfect sequence. Karma Yoga, that's the highlight of Brahma. Bhakti and Dhyana, highlight of Vishnu. And Shiva, Tattva Gyan. They all become the party of Shiva. Karatrisul Damaru Vijara, Viraja, Chale Basah Chari, Bajahi Baja. देखी सिवही सुरत्रिय मुस्काही वरलायक दुल्हिन जगनाही. In his hand there is trident. I have explained that point. Tattva Gyan, knowledge of self, removes three errors in your understanding. If you are dreaming, there are three errors there. The dream subject is not real. The dream world is not real. And the experiencing of pleasure and pain is not real. In order to wake you up from the dream, these three have to be dug out. Similarly, in order to wake you up from the world of illusion, you are not real the way you understand it, that's not you. The world is not real because this world is not dependent upon your senses. Experiences of pleasure and pain, that again is not real, depends upon your ego, your mental state. In all the three levels, an awareness, I am that, an awareness of absolute peace, as if you have gone into deep, deep sleep. Even in daily life, when you go to sleep, you move away from your body, your mind, your senses, your intellect and ego. That points the finger to the ultimate reality. So that's the root meaning behind the Trishul, the trident. In another hand, he has a Damaru. The Damaru is a very highly scientific term, Big Bang. The whole universe is described in the terms of bang. One type of bang creates evolution, evolutionary process. Another involution. Evolution and involution, they continue in cosmos. But you don't have to go so far. Every atom has within it a cosmic dance. Subtle vibration continues And science goes on exploring that. These subtle insights, they are adorning Shiva party. When the Devis, the heavenly Devis, saw Shiva's party, because they're always interested what's going on to the other party. And they all began to smile. What type of husband he's going to make? Vishnu Viranchi Adi Sura Brata, Chadi Chadi Bahan Chale Barata, Sura Samaj Sababhati Anupa, Nahi Varata Dulaha Anurupa. And all the three parties, Brahma's party, Vishnu party, Shiva party, in the first stage, they were all together. Vishnu kaha as bihasitab, boli sakal dishiraj, bilag bilag hoi chalahu sab, nij nij sahit samaj. But Lord Vishnu called out to Dikpalas, the deities of directions. In other words, his message was sent out in all directions. That may all of you move in three stages. Brahma's party with Brahma, Vishnu's party with Vishnu, and Shiva's party with Shiva. Separate. If you practice real yoga, then understand three stages. The stage of karma yoga, you are building up Brahma's party, which I described the Atma Gunas. Then stage of, you don't have to wait, but during this time, you are also developing Vishnu's part, Davi Sampat. And finally, the X-ray vision. All is Maya. Nothing exists. Nothing belongs to me. And follow the sequence. Manahi man mahe sumusukahi. Now in the storyline, is bringing out hasyaras, the sentiment of humor. Because all sentiments must be touched. Then any story that is told is going to have an enduring effect. Because your mind is not always in the same mood. You are hungry for different sentiments at different times. Just like sometimes the medicinal pills are given with different tastes. Lord Vishnu's humorous statement, people were tickled by Lord Vishnu's humor. And Lord Shiva also agreed with Lord Vishnu that let people separate themselves. Shiva anusasana suni sab aaye, Prabhupada jalaja sis kinhenaye, nana vahana nana vesha, vihase Shiva samaja nija dekha. Now all of them became arranged in the three sections. But when Lord Shiva looked at his marriage party and knowing how it will impact on people, he smiled. And Lord Shiva's party is now being described. Ko mukhahi navipila mukhabarahu. It's a summary of all that the world presents. Summary at the core level. X-ray vision behind the entire universe. Ko mukhahin. They are Some of his Shiva Ganas have no faces, simply the bodies. Subtler meaning is, you have faces, but you don't know how to express. Mukhin. You have mouth, but you don't know how to pronounce a language. Vipul mukha kahu. And then there are some, they have many heads, many mouths, but they don't know what they're talking about. Binu pada karako bahu pada bahu. Some have no feet. Some have many arms. This X-ray vision. You bring X-ray vision, sometimes it may become easy for scientific progress. People for entertainment will put on special lenses. So look at animals, you are looking at their skeletons. Look at trees, look at human beings. And the whole world now has a totally different appearance. And yet it is not meaningless. It is in that appearance you find the source of improving all that appears in normal vision. X-rays are not bad. तन कीन को अतिपीन पावन को अपावन गद्धरे भूषण कराल कपाल कर सब सद्य शोणित तन भरे खर स्वान सुवर सुकाल मुख गन वेश अगणित को गन है बहुजिनस प्रेत पिशाच जोगी जमात बरनत नहीं बने. Some are extremely thin, some are extremely fat. Some seem to have perfect, healthy conditions, sanctity around them. Some are bathed in blood and flesh, looking terrible. Some have put on garlands of terrible skulls. Some have faces of donkeys, dogs, hogs, jackals. And they're agnits, they're countless. And all those wandering spirits, they have all joined Shiva's party. They are Shiva Ganas. The simple point is this is the X-ray vision created by Tattva Gyan. This is the description of how the Tanamatras, subtle elements, have created the whole universe. ना चहीं गावहीं गीत परम तरंगी भूत सब देखत अति विपरीत बोलहीं वचन विचित्र विधि. They are now dancing and rejoicing. You have to understand it's a very broad and vision of the whole world process. If you have kind of an aerial view from where you are looking at the whole world, then what are you seeing? You are seeing a tremendous, irrational things happening. Tsunamis, hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. And behind all that, there is soft, gentle grace entering the earth. Even little buds blossoming, birds singing. So see the three types of Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva blending in creation. And ultimately, understand all this is Brahman. And towards that goal, you are being led. But before that happens, Shiva must marry Parvati. With this I'm going to conclude. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.